Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the And Both podcast. Today, I'm talking with Lauryn Warnick, the CEO and founder of Villain Branding, though you'll hear pretty quickly that her story is so much more layered than a job title. She's built a business in a way that actually makes space for being a whole human, a mom of two, a partner, a leader, and someone who's lived enough career seasons to know that balance isn't really the goal. Navigation is. We get into how Villain started as a one-woman operation and grew into a senior-level collective, why Lauryn is drawn to the complicated, unsexy middle of B2B companies, and how shifting seasons with kids, marriage, Disney meltdowns, all of it have shaped how she works and what success looks like now. We're also going to talk about the stuff that comes with building a business and raising small kids at the same time. School schedules that make absolutely no sense, the pressure of being the one responsible for the income, the moments where you're answering client emails in the preschool pickup line, and what it looks like to set boundaries that actually work in real life. Here's Lauryn. Welcome to And Both, a podcast about what it really looks like to put yourself on the list while raising kids and doing all the other things life asks of you. I'm your host, Ashley Blackington, and on this show, you'll hear conversations with moms who are figuring it out in their own ways, plus a few solo episodes from me from time to time. It's not about having all the answers. It's about sharing stories, learning from each other, and knowing we don't have to choose between either or when we're living in the middle of and both. Let's get into today's episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the And Both podcast. My guest today is Lauryn Warnick. Welcome, Lauryn.
Thank you. Thrilled to be here.
I'm really excited to be here, as always, because I love meeting people that are doing cool stuff. And I think you're doing something that's really cool. So before we get into that part, how about if you let people know what you'd like them to know about you?
Oh, man, that's a bold question. I would say the simplest way is that I'm the CEO and founder of Villain Branding. We are a verbal first brand consultancy for B2B companies in big transition moments like acquisitions and IPOs and sort of major repositionings. I'm also, and both, a mom of two. My son, Mac, is 6. My daughter, Navy, is 4. I'm married to my business partner. And it's generally chaos, including this morning. You can probably still hear my 4-year-old running around back there.
It's,
Get ready for preschool.
Yeah, it's never completely quiet. I have one of my 12-year-old is homesick today. But it's decidedly quieter, right? Because I can be like, all right, I need to record a podcast. So could you please turn down the cartoons? And it's just...
Oh, 12 and cartoons, though. That's still, I love that. That's great.
Yeah. Cartoons forever, man.
Team cartoons. Agreed.
I like when they're like, do you want to watch with me? And I'm like, I really, really do.
I do. This is the best part of my day.
Yeah, but I can't.
I know.
I had one of the principals of my kids' school. I have kids in 2 different schools. It was like, last week was like, I don't feel well. I need to go home and I need chicken noodle soup and I need The Price is Right and I need like my cozy blanket. And I'm like, I'm not even sick and that sounds amazing.
Yeah. I need my grandmother, which is not possible anymore, but like, yeah, just that vibe of tea and Bob Barker. Doesn't get much better.
Yeah, just tune that up. So how did you come into Villain Branding? How did this all start?
Sure.
Yeah, it's a big thing.
Yeah. Now it is, it's one of those, like, it was never meant to be big and it was never meant to be this. I started, I actually went to film school in college. I went to Boston University and went to film school. And I was assuming that I would work for like HBO right out of school. They'd hire me right up off the street. Hey, can you just like write our next big hit? Shockingly, that didn't happen. But I moved to New York. I worked at a tech startup and I was doing like editorial copywriting, like, hey, I like words. How can I make money with words? Thankfully, I didn't go the journalism path because I think that probably would have been another like step, especially in New York. And I didn't have the gut for it. Like I love journalists so much. My heart is forever in media, and I can't imagine that life of that kind of hustle and the lack of respect I think journalists get, et cetera. So I sold my soul, went the business writing route. And then I kind of waffled between tech startups, which I love, and then big agencies to get that kind of strategic cred, that creative portfolio built up. And then would kind of go back to startups when I felt like, again, I had like lost my soul to big corporations. I'd go back to startups and be like, oh, I'm doing something meaningful and great. And right before I started Villain, I was VP of marketing at a analytics startup, which is they're still a client of mine today. Awesome organization, and I had been there for about 5 years. And it was just time for me to kind of find my next step. And it was like, am I going to be like a CMO of another tech startup, or am I going to go back to the agency world? And I just kind of said, how do I bring the best of these worlds together, right? Like with startups, I love the passion and I love the usability of everything and we don't have 12 weeks and $250,000 to put something together. Like what can we do? What's the best, not perfect thing to put out in the world, but something that can make a difference? There's a little bit of risk taking. And so I wanted to pull that together with the great thinking, time to breathe, strategic consideration, like methodology, really like respect for the craft that agencies I think bring to the space, and bring those two things together. And that's kind of where Villain was born. But it was just me for a long time, just kind of like freelance and doing my thing. And it's really only been the last couple of years that we've scaled to where we are today.
Yeah, that's cool. I love it. I always love when there's some sort of point in your life where it's like, I could conceivably do this forever, right? I could just sort of bounce back and forth and like fill this bucket and then go back and fill this bucket. But like, what if?
Really?
I love those what if stories, because I feel like there's always this moment of like, there is a third option, right? Like I don't have to go back and forth. And then you get into that dream space of, if I could design my life, or the magic wand question. And then people move into that. And I just think it's just so cool to see, because that's how these new and innovative businesses are built. It's not people being like
totally
staying in these different lanes.
Exactly. You have to take like that combination and that like alchemy of the best things in your life and make your own. Like those are LinkedIn is such a dumpster fire that I spend way too much time on these days. But my favorite posts are the ones where you've got these really talented women that are like, hey, I'm done with these 15 years at this corporate, company that I was leading XYZ, and now I'm starting my own thing to do Y. And I'm like, damn, this is someone to follow. This is someone who's taking that risk, who's doing their thing, who is taking everything that they've done for so long, and now they're, putting all their chips in one place and betting on themselves. And I mean, it's so rare that you see something like that, quote unquote, fail. And if it does fail, it's just turned into something even better. I just think that those are the most inspiring kind of places to watch.
Yeah, agreed. And I love that so much of what I see in that space is exactly what you're saying. It's not that like you go out and you try something and maybe it doesn't like explode overnight, but that people are, once you've sort of locked into this entrepreneurial pathway of like, I know that I want to do something different, I feel like people really let go of the reins a little bit in terms of like what it looks like. And that's when you let it run and you're like, okay, well, let's follow the data. Let's follow the sources that I'm connecting with. Let's follow what I see in the industry. But all of that has to come from those years of experience beforehand.
Yeah. And like, let's follow the moment that I'm in now in the season of life. Like, I think, that's what this pod is all about, right? I think I love the entire premise of the conversations you have, because Villain is 10 years old tomorrow, I think. Yeah, the 15th tomorrow.
Yeah.
I know, exciting. But also like, what it's so different from what it was 10 years ago. And I followed moments in my life. I mean, I was single and like living, in New York. And I was just, it was very different from now with 2 kids and a husband and, mortgages and that kind of stuff, where I've had to shift and change and allow flexibility into moments of my life, and scale looks different and success looks different. And, who we work with looks different than it did 10 years ago. And that's as much kind of looking inside out as outside in. And I think both are equally important.
Yeah, agreed. I also think that the way that we think about success has evolved so much just in the last 10 years, like as across industries. We have our own, like that 10-year period of your life where you undergo this massive personal evolution with all of these different roles and pieces coming in. But also, like, if you took the goalposts from 10 years ago and put them on a business today, it would be like, what are we doing? Like that all just keeps evolving over time too, which I think in a lot of ways is really cool.
Yeah. How do you look at success in your life today? Like, how do you define what success is for you?
I think that for me, what I think about when I think about success, I think about like impact over metrics, which I don't know if that's how that sounds, but it's you can have people, like I have a platform, so I can look at metrics in terms of like downloads and users and churn and all of that stuff. But for me, the reason I started the company is to make an impact in the lives of caregivers. So the feedback that comes in from people like, I downloaded this when my mom was in the hospital. This has made it possible for me to do this, this, and this. Like, to me, those points of comment or content are like indicative that we're on the right path, because it's so much richer than like looking at a spreadsheet.
Totally. The qualitative stories and anecdotes have so much power. And quants, to your point, great to look at too, but you need the kind of balance of both of them, I think.
Yeah. And I think that's the part too, is like in the age of social media and in the age of like, we're really able to connect more with the people that we work with and the people that we do work for in a way that we couldn't have 10 years ago, or it wasn't the norm to do that 10 years ago. So that's when we were in this data-driven relationship versus now.
Yep.
It's like, how do we, and like to your point, like working in branding, I mean, that's got to have changed massively in the last 10 years. It's not, we're putting up a webpage. It's like, we're really thinking about the ins and outs and the upside downs of all this.
Totally. I mean, the last 10 days, I feel like with tech innovation where it is, and I won't say the two letters that will come up 100 times in this conversation because it does in every conversation. But I feel like we get asked that question all the time, like how is AI affecting, how you guys build and what your clients are asking for and stuff. And it's, fundamentally changing. And at the same time, like not changing at all. Like brand is still a relationship. It's still a human business. So it's interesting to see, when you become a woman of a certain age, when you become, a leader that has been around the block a few times and seen lots of trends, and lived through Web3 and crypto and, whatever else, the dawn of the internet, what actually stays the same is as exciting to me and as important to me as like, what new things can we get our hands on and help us to do our work better?
Yeah. I was at a breakfast on Monday in Boston, and one of the questions that came up was around junior positions in companies and the rise of AI. They were talking about how so many of the tasks that were sort of delegated to junior positions or apprentice or people that were early on in the career are now being not completely taken over, but people are able to hire less in those junior positions. But how do you transition someone from that junior position to a senior role if they don't necessarily have all of that exposure to that? And one of the statistics, it was something like 30% of Harvard business grad students are estimated to go from school right into entrepreneurship because there are no junior roles.
Right.
How do you see this changing for you guys as AI becomes everywhere?
It is a great question. And I'm like excited about how that's going to, play out. Because I think that new, fresh thinking from graduates, fresh out of high school, folks who are taking that entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial spirit to heart and sort of their brains are sponges at that point and they're built. That's where all the creativity and all of the sort of try it and see, which is what experience is, right? Like, I always say when someone's trying to get into branding, like just read the news, right? Look at, ask yourself why companies made decisions that they made business wise, and then how that played out in their brand, right? How did that impact? Did they see dips? Did they see short-term dips? Did they see long-term trust issues? Study cases and look at history and why decisions were made at points in time. And I think that doing that in real time with the tools that we have available today, where you can just get that instant feedback, is going to be a really exciting time for folks. Villain is interesting in how we set it up. We are a senior-only collective. So, and this comes from kind of, as I was talking about earlier, the seasons and moments in life. I don't know if we always will be, but right now, and since for the last few years, we have been set up to be just, folks who have been CMOs, who have led brand at corporations, who have led agencies, are the folks that are working within Villains Collective, because we find that having those peer-to-peer conversations with our clients, we've been there, we've been in those board meetings with you, we've had to make those tough conversations, means that, if you were to look at us and bill at an hourly rate, our blended rate would be astronomical. But when you look at the value that we provide and how we price by project, it's actually pretty lean because we know what we're doing. We have the pattern recognition and we know how to use the tools and where to use things like AI and where not to. I think that it pushes our work and it acts as an accelerator of our work rather than sort of taking some of the totally mundane stuff or junior stuff off our plate. So I think we use AI in maybe a little bit of a different way than taking roles away from our team. it also helps us because we are structured, and this is built around kind of my own philosophy that life matters most. So the folks that work with us, we're, as I said, a collective, meaning that it's all freelance folks intentionally. So
Nice.
these are people that have things outside of brand strategy that they want in life. We've got authors that work with us. We have startup founders who are raising money for, sustainable agricultural businesses that they're running in Peru at the same time as the brand work that they're doing now. We've got folks who are facilitators and researchers, but are also artists and are sort of trying to sell their art into museums and galleries, et cetera. And so they bring that richness to the work that we do for our clients and love the work that they do for their clients, but we're all multifaceted. And so when you bring that perspective to business, I think that people who think that way, that aren't one note, that aren't just this one thing, you get a better result. You get more openness in collaboration with tools and other teams. You get a different perspective that our clients are not even thinking about or seeing. And I think that's what makes us a little bit different and makes our work a little bit better because we all have that kind of flexibility in how we're thinking. Sometimes we're all in on the brand work because we have to be. And sometimes the context switching is good for creativity. And we're switching back and forth between parenting or writing or art or whatever those things may be. So tools, whether it be AI or another tool that we're using, is just another thing that we balance intentionally. It's just kind of how we're structured.
I love that. I think that is so on the nose for how the world is moving because there is this, people have so much more opportunity to explore different things, right? They have a lot of different opportunity to pursue different avenues, but that also being able to earn a living and be able to sustain yourself and all of that stuff. It's so much easier now in terms of moving between spaces. So I love that idea too. And I totally agree. Like being able to not be, stuck in office number 522 for ever and ever is like, how do you, especially for branding, right? How would you have any sort of freshness to the ideas and seeing what's out in the world if you're like, here's what I do. I show up, I write this stuff, I carry it on. It makes me think about like travel with kids, like even if, not international travel, but like just getting into different spaces and getting into different communities and seeing how the world is different state to state.
Yep.
Really just gives depth that you can't explain to somebody. They just have to be able to be in that situation.
I mean, we literally just got back from Disney World with our kids.
Oh my God, how was
last
it?
week. I mean, exactly what you're talking about. It's like a life lesson for us and the kids, right? And it's Disney World is just a interesting study on humanity. I think everyone has, and even different from like Disneyland, right? Which is kind of more repeat visitors and stuff. Disney World is like people have like bet their lives to come here and spend a gazillion dollars that they necessarily don't have, or are there for the magic for themselves or for their kids. And every moment needs to be perfect, which inevitably isn't, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's such an interesting thing to live through and to witness watching other families kind of have the same meltdowns and moments that you're having. And I think like my husband and I sort of knew that's what we were walking into, that it was going to be this balance of magic and meltdown where we didn't really have a lot of expectations for our kids or for the park. Mm-hmm. So we went in saying like, hey, listen, if they're tired at 1 p.m., we're going home. We're not going to like make it to the fireworks and we got to go to Mickey's Christmas party. And we were very much like, we got to be flexible and go with the flow of what we're feeling, what they're feeling, and communicate when we are done with the day too. It's not just about the kids. And watching some other families feel that way and other families going whole hog, it was just, it was an interesting microcosm of how we in society live life.
Yeah, no. And it's just such a perfect example of like, everyone is there sort of with the similar-ish intention, right? Like, let's make magic happen and let's like light the world on fire in all good ways and make memories and stuff like that. And it's like, what happens when your actual like rubber hits the road and like, one of your kids is like I have a kid who won't eat anything from, this like food truck that's like everywhere. But I have another kid who like is like, I don't even care. And so you're juggling all of these different things. And then you move into a space where it's like, we don't have the same food that we have at home. How do we do this? And how do we layer that all together? I think we have not done Disney yet. And
Don't don't rush it for sure. I wanted to check the box, and I was like, we are one and done. But and my kids are already like planning. Oh, when we go back for my 5th birthday, I'm like, honey, nope, 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 nope. But I think that that's such a good point of like, and I had this moment with my daughter Navy, who's 4, and at that age in general, you are the only person on earth, right? And so the idea that you just spoke to of everyone kind of living a very similar goal and a very similar life in that moment, but also living their own micro life while you've got surrounded by 49,000 other people. She was having a meltdown after the bathroom. I forget. Oh, she wanted to rip the paper towels off the bathroom to wash her hands, and there were so many people in line, and it was too hard to get. Anyway, I was just like, I got to grab these towels for you. And she melted down, and I was like, Navy, look around right now. We were in front of Cinderella's castle. It was right before the Frozen show. And I said, every single person here is trying to have the perfect moment themselves. And you ripping those paper towels off was going to delay them from having that moment. Was it a big deal in hindsight? No. Should I have just let her do it? Yeah, it doesn't really matter. But when you're like hyped up and you're surrounded and overstimulated. But I did take that pause to kind of bring to life for her, you are not the only person in this world, in this park, trying to have this perfect moment. We all need to flex, and we all need to be aware of everyone else trying to have their moment, and we need to give a little bit, right? And be a little bit flexible. And I remember her like literally looking around for the first time, seeing that there were other people in the park, right? Like she just didn't, it's 4. Like she's like, no, Elsa and Anna were there for me. Like this is Cinderella's castle for me. And so in that respect, I think travel in general, whether it's Disney World or hopefully somewhere else, it's a way to open your kids up to, as you said, cultures and different people, and just like having respect for others around you and other people's goals and lives and whatever they're doing in that moment. It's not just about them.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so hard because it's this balance of like, how much can I introduce to them that's going to be integrated versus I'm just like, they're going to feel like they're drinking from a fire hose when it comes to like the outside world. And that's the joy, quote unquote, we'll call it, of parenthood is like, sometimes we have the valve too high and sometimes we don't have the valve high enough, but like, you don't know unless you're in it. And in the moment, it's like, if your daughter's like, the day is done because of the paper towels, like very much could have been a possible option.
Yep.
Or it could have been like, oh, okay, whatever. Like what she did, like look around and then there you go. And it's like, you go into that, like, I'm going to try my best to like meet you where you're at. And let's hope that we just take a left, but you never know.
Totally. And sometimes you have to be like, yeah, your day is done, but the rest of the family's isn't. And you also need to flex with that. And I that's where like I'm going on a tangent here, but that's where I have a problem with the word balance, right? Like I just feel like it's, yes, what's shoved down our throat as parents, I think, and moms especially. But I think it's about flexibility so much more than balance, right? Like you just need to, it's got to be more going at the flow. And sometimes you have to take your medicine. Sometimes you have to put your shoes on. You got to brush your teeth before school. And sometimes like I spent $200 on the Mickey Christmas party and like, we're going to, your brother's fine and your mom and dad are fine. So like, you're going to have to sit in the stroller and be a little sad. And that's okay. Like there are other people in this world and you got to kind of figure it out a little bit too. And I think teaching kids to be flexible, to advocate for themselves and their needs and find their own boundaries of, hey, I don't want to be here anymore, but I have to be, so I'm going to find my way to get through this. I think all that is important and life lessons as well. And sometimes to your point, like, well, she's done and it's ruining our time and we're all going to go. And that's okay too. And it will change moment to moment.
Yeah, for sure. I could not agree more. I used to use the word balance by default because it didn't feel like there was anything else. And now I use the word navigate. Because I feel like
I love that.
That's what we're doing, right? We're like not even by car, we're by boat. Like the tide comes in, the tide comes out. There's stuff in the water we can't hit. There's like we have to dock here, but we can't. Like it's that piece of like we are moving, things are moving around us, and we're also trying to get here, there, and everywhere.
I love that so much.
Yeah,
it's a great metaphor.
Balance is terrible because there's always this idea that at some time there's a point where we can say this is right or this is not right, right? Like, is this balanced or not? And it's such a spinning plates. Everything's on fire, like however it feels or looks from minute to minute. And we just do such a disservice to feel like we always have to be striving for balance as though like it doesn't stop. Like our world doesn't stop. So we can't ever actually get to balance because something's always changing.
Yeah. And it acts like you balance sort of feels like you're supposed to control it, like it's in your control. So if the scales tip one way or the other and it's not balanced, it's your fault, which is, what we hear all day, right? You're doing something wrong. You're failing one way or the other, right? You've tipped the scales too far to, work or too far toward motherhood and therefore like everything else is falling versus, I love navigate. Like sometimes you're going to have to go a little further right. And then you can course correct, in a day, in a week, in a month. And that's okay. Like it's up to you.
Yeah.
To figure that out. But there are also things that happen outside of your control and you got to go with the flow a little bit there.
And I think too, for me, like totally to take the metaphor, like way down the line is like, if you don't take care of your boat, the boat sinks. Totally. And we never put ourselves in that position, or we're taught not to talk about that, not to, it's like you buy the red light mask, you go to get the massage, you do all of those things. But is that actually what needs to be happening in order for you to feel like you've taken care of yourself alongside of all of this? So a little boat maintenance.
Yeah, such a good point. I mean, like, yeah. And that self-care is, again, like, yes, you have to take care of your boat, but like, that's not always on you either. It means that like, you've got to have the means to, to be able to do it. You've got to have the funds to do it. You've got to have someone that can actually fix a boat with you. Again, taking this metaphor way too far. But the idea that like, I would love to go get a massage and have that fix all of the self-care problems that I have or all of the like, but sometimes I just need a quiet room for half an hour, right? Or sometimes like, it shifts and changes and I'm grateful to be able to most times have the means to put myself in a place where I can take care of myself when I need to. And that certainly has not always been the case. Certainly not over the last, 5 or 6 years. It's been a lot harder in different seasons than it is in this moment.
Yeah. I think that, if it was up to a massage and we knew like that was it, that was like the golden ticket to all of this stuff, we'd have skyscrapers in Manhattan full of massage therapists, and we would have private equity buying massage studios, and we would have all of these things. But everybody knows that it's individual and it changes as you go through life and what you need and the stages that you're at and stuff like that. So that's another moving target that we're kind of trying to navigate as well. Today's episode is brought to you by Dovetail, the app that's changing the way families navigate caregiving. If you're juggling your kids' schedules, checking in on your parents, and trying to manage your own needs, Dovetail is made for you. I built Dovetail as a clinician and caregiver who saw firsthand how overwhelming this role can be and how much lighter it feels when the care is shared. Download Dovetail now on iOS, Google Play, coming soon. So you said you started Villain, not married, no kids, all of that. Like, I imagine, please tell me if I'm wrong, but I imagine it was like, I'm jumping into this all in. I work like all these hours and I'm trying to get this thing off the ground and all of that stuff. And then life happens alongside. So how have you navigated that transition like over the last 10 years? Because the company's growing, your family's growing, things are always changing in the different columns of your life.
Yeah. I mean, in some ways I was working a ton to get it off the ground. In other ways I was like, there was less pressure. So I could be like, I don't have work right now and I have money. So I'm just going to like watch Netflix for a week, or, I'm going to travel or do like I could be more selfish. Now there's an increasing amount of pressure to constantly be working that I need to balance, right? Like if I don't take on this project, then am I jeopardizing my kids' like college future, right? It's a weird example, but you start to spiral like that, right? Where you're saying like, if I say no to this thing, I'm saying no for 3 other people in our family. And now that we've got folks that work with us, I'm saying no for folks, who one of the strategists that works with us, or a writer or a researcher that works with us, or a designer who they need the work, right? So I should take this on. So you just start to feel an increasing amount of responsibility. So in a lot of ways, I feel like I work more now than I did then, but I also have an unbelievable support group, and for lack of a less cheesy phrase, like village, that handles so much more of the other stuff for me than I had back then, because I just didn't need it. And I think that like I'm 100 times more productive now than I was when I was, 30. So I think there has been like, peaks and valleys and things. But yeah, the kind of getting away from or accepting, I guess I should say, that there are quieter seasons in business. And 10 years in, I should recognize that July is always going to be quiet. And so take vacation and chill out. But instead I'm like, well, why don't we have more work? Or what else am I investing in this, I need to do a rebrand, or I need to, hire someone to do more marketing for us because we're quiet right now, whatever it might be. Accepting that I can take quiet time and plan for that is something I struggle with all the time.
Yeah, I live this as well. My husband is self-employed and his slow season is January, February. He's had this business for 15 years, more than 15 years. And literally every January, like I can feel it coming where he's like, okay, this, like I set this up. I kind of knew this was coming, but there's always that feeling of like, whatever. And then, end of February, things start picking up again because it's just people are gone and then they come back. And I'm like, we go through this every year. So this year is the first where he's now looking at this like, okay, I know that January is going to be like this. So what can I do differently so I'm not feeling totally panicked by this? And I'm like, what? 15 years in. I mean, I really
love an emotionally secure man. Yeah, it takes a minute. We get there eventually. Yeah,
right?
Maybe I'll be there in 5 years too.
It's hard. It's so hard, especially, like you said, like your husband, you guys work together, you do all of this stuff. It's like, when you get into that fishbowl feeling of like, are we doing this? Are we, what is happening here? And it is tricky.
Yeah. And we are very different humans. I'm sure not unlike you and your partner. And Benny is not, he likes routine. He had a hard time. So he only left his role. He was in athletics. He worked in D1 sports and was an athletic director at a local college, up until about 3 years ago. And he was used to like, I go to the university, I go to the college, I'm there all day. I know what I need to do. He's just like he thrives on community and structure and kind of understanding the energy of other people around him. And he knows how to make himself successful in that way. So it was a very big shift for him to leave that role and come work and manage Villain's business operations, for him mentally, and for me to be like, okay, this is how I work. And there are sort of, we are going to have downtime, and we are going to have seasons where we make a lot of money in a short period of time. And we need to balance that across the rest of the year. And when July comes, you can't be like applying to new jobs and panicking because, you haven't seen an invoice come in a couple of months. You have to remember that 3 months ago, we were like drowning in work and I was stressed all the time. And now I'm stressed in a different way, but like I can manage that. That's definitely a shift for him. So me managing his sort of emotional expectations only being a few years into the business versus me further into the business is definitely a change. It helps that we're in very different lanes, right? Like I handle the client stuff, I handle the client work, he handles the operations, right? And so I think that definitely helps that we can stay in our own lane, and then it's very much a family business. We make decisions as how is this going to impact our entire family? Am I going to take on this huge project that's going to have me out of commission from school pickups for the next 2 months, and then he's going to pick up the slack for that? That's a decision that we make, one off and say, how does this work for us right now in this moment? Do we have the mental bandwidth, or are we in, holiday season and we're like, we just can't take on another thing because we've got, 17 Polar Expresses and, Santa's workshop things signed up over the next 2 months. And I'm just not going to be able to deliver great work for my family or for the client if we take on a project like this. But it's good to have a partner in helping to make that mental decision.
Yeah. And also like being in a spot where you can say like, you have to, I think the important thing for people to hear is like, nobody gets it right the first time out the gate, right? It's not like a project comes across your desk and you're like, yep, sure, we're going to take this and we're going to do this and we're going to do this. And like everything seamlessly like turns out like a Hallmark movie, right? Like you make the deadline and then you show up at the thing and all that stuff. Like there's seasons of like, oh, I did not land where I wanted that to land. And I think that sometimes when people are thinking about moving into the entrepreneurship lane, it's like, I'm going to be able to do all of these things because I have all of this control. And it's like, you have to figure out what's coming in versus what's going out. And then things are going to change. Like my kids have, they're doing a big immigration project at school, 3 of them next week. It's like a whole school thing. And I had a bunch of meetings lined up for work and they were like, we need help getting the project done and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, well, yes, I want to be there for that. I want to go in and see this because it's all of these reasons. Can I shift things around a little bit? And fortunately was able to do that. And that's like one of those, great bonuses of working for yourself. But also that means that 3 days next week, it's up until midnight. It's all of that. So it's never, there's no balance. It's not like, oh, you just shift this thing to the left and you show up at your desk at 9:00 and you're like, typey type. It's the call from school. It's the changing the laundry. It's the everything all at once.
The amount of work that I get done on the preschool pickup line is like, I want a camera on me to just be like, I'm taking phone calls, I'm slacking people, I'm emailing in that like 12 minutes where, you're just trying not to be the last person in line to scar your child.
Mm-hmm.
I get so much done. But I think, you raise such a great point of like, there are moments where you can flex and say, I've got to show up for my kids in this moment. And there are other moments where you're like, I can't do it. And how do I get through this without feeling wildly guilty? Because I think your kids are selfish, right? I was selfish as a kid. They should be, right? They're growing up. It's their world. And so it's never going to be enough. I can be with my kids in Disney World the entire week. And come Monday, when I have to go back to work, it is the most traumatic experience for them because how dare I work, right? And it's just, that's how it should be. They should want you around. Hopefully you're doing a good enough job that they want you around all the time. And I look to, my husband is great at this, to say, hey, when I'm feeling particularly guilty, he's like, when you show up with the kids, you are 100% on with them. You work from home, so they know where to find you. That you also set your boundary that when your office door is closed, they don't knock on the door. They know that you will be done with work and come out and be totally focused on them when you do. And we have an amazing nanny. We've had her for 5-6 years. And she is so practical and grounded and really helpful with me, where I remember Navy had a preschool popsicle party and I had a client workshop. They just, of course, threw it on my calendar. Hey, 10 a.m. popsicle party on this coming Friday to celebrate the end of the year, and you're a horrible parent if you don't go. And our nanny was like, this is not the thing to feel guilty about.
Mm-hmm.
You can miss it. She's not going to care. She's not going to remember it. There are some things you need to show up for. I promise you, this is not the thing. Have your meeting. And it just felt so great to have someone else in my corner who had been there before. Her kids are a little bit older; they're in middle and high school. To say, it's okay to not have this be the one. And also at the same time, like, her first dance show recital, I was like, I got to get back from this trip to be there for it. That was the thing that was very important for me to make sure I was. Or the immigration project that's in my future, I'm sure. I will need to make time for. But sometimes when you have the permission to not have to make time for it, it's a relief.
Yeah. I would love there to be a moratorium on like a 6 weeks out scheduling for school activities.
Please.
Why?
Yes.
Why do I get like 96 hours notice, including the weekend on things?
And why is it always at 11 a.m.?
11 a.m. or like 2 p.m.
The worst possible time.
Yeah. The worst possible time. And it's also like, but it also comes with like, it's okay if you can't make it, but we're going to have all of these things that are happening. And like, oh, by the way, it'd be great if you could make a like dessert or whatever. And you're like,
exactly.
What?
You could just make a souffle really quickly. We'd appreciate that. Just there's 22 kids in the class, so make 22 mini souffles.
Yeah.
No eggs, no nuts, no dairy.
Yeah.
Good luck.
No, nothing. Yeah. You have berries, but not all the berries, and no gluten. And, one of my kids is a gluten-free kid. And I will say, like, the school that they're at now is like decidedly much better about this. And like there a lot of stuff comes out with, we understand that this is hard, and they actually ask parents. It's a very small school. So they actually ask parents, they're like, would it be better if we did these meetings at like 8:00 on a Friday morning? And I'm like, it is always better to do something at 8 over anything else, because that's the
just bookend my day.
Yeah.
Just around it.
Highest likelihood that I'm going to be able to show up and be successful in that moment. But yeah, we, the school that they were at before, it was definitely like, we'll see you at 1:00 for a PTA meeting. And I'm like, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
And tell us if you can't make it. We'll assign some stranger to sit with your child so you feel extremely guilty about it, right? Because everybody else has the most important person in their life there, except for your child. But it's okay if you can't make it.
And we know we'll assign the person that you can't stand to sit with your child to like double down on the garbage.
Exactly. Man, they love us.
Yeah, it is. It's a thing. Like the school, I don't remember as a kid the number of things that the school held during the day.
No, agreed.
Like my mom stayed home until my brother, he's a year younger than me. My mom stayed home until my brother was 5. And I remember like I went to kindergarten and I came home, and I went to first grade and I came home, and there was never like parents didn't go into the school. There weren't presentations during the day. It just wasn't. And like to the other side of that point, like I like seeing what my kids are doing. I like participating in that. Like it's really fun to be able to feel like you're engaged in the school community. I just can't be engaged at 11 a.m.
Agreed. And like, give me the option, right? It's like, I don't have time to do a jogathon and a midday art show and, all of these things in the course of a few weeks. If I can just give you $100, $1,000 at the beginning of the year to use as you need, I would much rather that than these one-off fundraisers personally. To your point, I want to be part of the community and like know what's going on. And I want to be there and witness what my kid's up to and in an evening hour, or have like, one a quarter or something that's planned and set. But I can't like know ahead of time, an hour ahead of time, that I need to draw, 55 jack-o'-lantern faces on clementines. Or else, my kid's fundraiser will fail, right? Like I just feel like there's got to be some flexibility there. Like you can do X or you can do Y, and if it's time that you have or money that you have or whatever those things are in this moment, you have the flexibility to give in whatever way it makes the most sense for you and your family.
Yeah. Have you seen those? There was a thing going around. It was the beginning of the school year. Like it was really a direct ask to parents, and it was like, we've figured out that the number of students in the school, the activities that we are part of it covering funding for and all of that stuff, that it costs this number of dollars per student per year of fundraising that we have to do. It was like $100 or, say it's $250 per kid per year. There was an option that you could write a check for $250 and they would leave you alone for the rest of the year. Like you've done the thing.
All day.
I just love that. It was like one of those, like you sort of choose your own adventure, but the $250, it was like, lose my number for this year. Like, don't reach out to me. No, thank you, whatever. And I really love that approach of being like, I can't take on the mental back and forth of feeling like I have to do this and feeling like if I don't, like, it's like the work thing, right? Like if I don't take on all of these asks, that somehow at the end of the day, my kid's going to show up like on a couch in a therapist's office in 20 years talking about like, my mom missed making stuff for the voting fundraiser, whatever, like for election, that's the word, like the election fundraiser bake sale. And now I am permanently scarred for life. It's like those things can't be true, but in the moment, everything feels so overwhelming.
Totally. And just keeping track of them, the amount of like pto.org/whatever website I needed to go to, the other website that's for signing in for my kids' grades, the like data, like just that, stuff that I need a virtual assistant to manage. I think that's worse than just the showing up in a lot of ways, right? Like I can't keep track of what I paid for and didn't pay for, or signed up for and didn't sign up for, or read which email and whatnot. I feel like I get all of my information from the parents at the bus stop in the morning, where I'm like, is it Spirit Day this week? What are we doing? Right? I can't remember where that email is and who sent it and what website to go to.
Yeah. And they do at the school, they do like vision screening, and they do like, they have the dental screening. They come around and then they count their teeth and all that stuff. My kids were like, Mom, you have to sign the vision screening so that I can get my vision screened. And I'm like, guys, you went to the eye doctor a month ago. Like you're fine.
You're good.
They're like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
I got it.
Yeah, like Okay. I don't know.
And then you're like, I'm sorry that you're stressed out about this adult problem too. Like my kids will feel like, my son at least, he's my oldest, is a rule follower. He's like, we got to do, you gotta do. I'm like, buddy, this is an adult problem, not a kid problem. I got to handle. Don't worry about it.
Mhm.
And at the same time, I'm like, why do I have to think about this?
You're like, I want this to just be a someone else problem.
Exactly. Is there that option?
Pitch that up.
Is there
Option 3. That's what we need. Is
Yeah.
an option 3.
Yeah. I need another adult.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wouldn't it be amazing if you could have like a stand-in adult and be like, hey, listen, I need to hand this to you and you can deal with that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what we need AI to do.
Yes. Yes, exactly. So one question that I had on the villain branding side is you work with B2B companies. This is like totally a left and where we were going, but you work with B2B companies. How did you make that decision over the like smaller direct to consumer, those pieces?
Yeah, great question. Well, my background is in both B2B and B2C. So I worked at like CPG agencies and stuff earlier in my career. So I have experience. I worked at Disney to bring that back. They were a client of mine. General Mills. Yeah, exactly. General Mills, those guys. So there were a lot of, I did have a fair amount of consumer side experience, but the stuff that I like the most are the projects that most people find unsexy. Because I think that complicated, messy software and B2B businesses that people don't think about when they think about branding a lot of times, right? Like you think about the viral posts and the Oreo dunking in the dark kind of stuff, and those are the things that get the attention. But I think the thing that moves the needle the most tends to be simplifying complex stories for businesses. Like I think that they have the most gap in how they think about brand and how they think about brand as a way to, as a financial asset for their business, as a way to make money, right? They've kind of neglected it for so long. They've been building a lot of products and a lot of kind of software and stuff. So I feel like the value that they get from working with us is greater than businesses that are on the consumer side. So that was part of it. I also think that size-wise, we work with mid-enterprise, so folks that are kind of around $1 billion in revenue. I think that you tend to see small startups that are getting into commoditized spaces. They pay attention to brand usually. They don't have a lot of money for it, but they pay attention to brand because they know that like every word that they say has to make a difference because they don't have a lot of budget to say it. And then you see, Interbrand's top 100 global brands, right? The Googles, the Apples of the world that, they get 70% of their revenue comes from their brand value, right? People buy them because they choose them and they pay more and they stick around because they're Apple. I think that the missing middle there of mid-enterprise have that gap of brand actually can make a ton of money for you and you're leaving so much on the table that opening the eyes of the executive teams or the PE firms that own these companies or the board is exciting for me. It sounds so lame to say it. I'm hearing myself talk about this, but I like kind of showing people the value like, hey, you're not thinking about this and you're not you're telling 10 different stories in the market. If we just told one, you guys would make so much money. So in a lot of ways, the kind of deliverable and the job that we do is easy. How we do it and getting there is really tough. And there aren't a ton of people that do it. So kind of being known as the go-tos in this space, it has been, really rewarding for me.
I feel like it's like the, what is it, like the early 2000s, like rom-com, like the Ugly Duckling moment where it's like, this person has so much like wonderful parts of them, that like they're amazing and all of this stuff. And someone comes along and they're like, let's do your hair. And I mean, that whole storyline is problematic anyways, but I think that it's that idea of like, you're not changing anything. You're just allowing the pieces that you're helping someone get it all together and smooth everything out and make it all make sense. And I think that's really cool because to your point, like, you get to a point where you're like, okay, we're doing $1 billion. Like we're doing great. And then you look down the line and you're like, okay, well, Apple's made basically the same phone for 17 different versions and people keep spending $50 a month on a contract that they don't even run out. Like, how do we get to there? And it's how many, right. You start to run out of levers that you can pull to make that jump from there. And so I love that focus on, let's focus on the story and let's focus on what people see and how people can interact with you as levers that you haven't even thought about.
Yeah. And that's why we focus on words too, instead of visuals. I think when people think brand, they think like, okay, I'm getting a new logo or I'm getting a new color palette. we are verbal first, we're word first, because we think that, and we know from the years of doing this, that words travel better than visuals do in organizations like that. Because that story that we tell can reach sales, can reach product teams, can reach investor relations, analysts, internal comms. And it's easier for folks to get their head around and see the impact of words than a design system. So it's not to say that design is important. We often do the design work after we've done the story and the message and the strategic kind of verbal-based assets. But to get the story and nail that story for folks is something that, again, I don't think people understand can unlock as much as it can unlock in their organization.
Yeah, that's very cool. So where do you see this all going and growing? Like, your kids you're like staring down the barrel of like kids in both of them in elementary school. These like, hey, by the way, we need you to make a fireman costume out of like compostable material before 3 p.m. and like all this stuff that doesn't make any sense. And the company is growing and like how do you think about the future?
Yeah, it's funny. I think this is my husband's athletic background coming in where, in March Madness, they say survive in advance. And I think that that's kind of really the family motto at this moment is just survive in advance, right? We're not at the stage where we're going to thrive right now. But I think that sort of finding the way to navigate to bend without snapping in half is really the bar for the next couple of years. And that's okay. So, on the business front, it means scaling without changing our model, without blowing things up, right? Staying a collective, staying with our ICP of, mid-enterprise, B2B, mostly tech and professional services organizations, keeping our pricing, our margins, our costs where they are, or, increasing margins a bit, but not taking on work that is going to break us in half, any of us. Keeping myself as the face of the business and having that sort of skin in the game. People hire us because we are founder owned. They know that they're getting, my attention and time. I don't see any of that changing. I think for me, learning more about how I can be a better leader, a better CEO, a better delegator, a better ways to scale the business where I'm not the bottleneck and everything is my goal over the next couple of years. From a parent standpoint, I think continuing to model, this sounds really cheesy, but continuing to model for my kids the importance of hard work, the importance of flexing, the importance of showing up and being in the moment when you're in the moment and not doing 10 other things, something that I've worked on a ton over the last few years. And I kind of see it playing back in my kids a lot of times. Like I said, they respect when my door is closed. They know that I'll show up for the important stuff, but I'm not there all the time, every single day. They know that they have a lot of people who love and care for them that are part of our extended family, babysitters, nannies, grandparents. I think just continuing to show them what navigation and flexing looks like and being human. My kids have seen me cry after calls and having conversations about why, being upset about something and really caring about something, what that means, and that there isn't shame in it. And they've also seen me, be really happy about a big win, right? I got featured in Forbes earlier this year. And the kids were like, oh, Mom, I have no idea what Forbes is. Don't even know what a magazine is. They have no clue. But they're like, oh, you were in that book. Mom was in that book. And so we sat down at dinner and my son was like, oh, let's cheers to Mom being in the book. And just like celebrating wins together and stuff. Like those moments are what I just hope to continue to repeat. So super cheesy answer for you. And nothing that's like wildly, different or, eye-opening. But I think just like more of the same and getting better at it is what I'm hoping to do over the next few years.
Yeah, I feel like the greatest service that we can do for our children is to show them that we're human too. And I think that it's a really unique position to be an entrepreneur in the home, when you work from home, when there is like down the hallway and stuff like that. You're not the CEO who's on the 72nd floor. And, nobody sees the work that you do and nobody sees that like this went well, this didn't go well, I'm really invested in this or not. And I think that is a really amazing bonus for kids to see. And then also like, I cannot echo enough the like, let's just keep doing, like it's a moving target, right? Like we're trying to get people to this class and this club and this activity and get homework done and feed people and so I just would love to dispel the thought or the expectation that people have that like at some point there'll just be a day where like it all goes smoothly, right? Like your kid doesn't forget their goggles for swim, or this doesn't happen, and all of that. And that the human side of us as parents and the human side of trying to do a lot of things because we're really passionate and involved in a lot of things and we really want to keep things moving in that direction has to somehow be perfectly done.
Mm-hmm. And same on the business front. Like, you don't have to have a single goal. Like, great if you want to sell your business, right? So I get asked that all the time. I think when you reach a certain, 7-8 figure businesses, we get asked all the time, when are you selling the business? What's the end game and what's your exit strategy, et cetera? And I go back and forth and I want to know what I need to do to, right? Like, what does my EBITDA need to look like? Like, what's our tech platform have to look like in order to be able to shift and sell if we needed to for X multiples? Like, I want to be a responsible business owner and know those things, but I also have no interest in doing it today. That doesn't mean that decision is permanent. It just means that in this moment, to your point, I'm happy with the work that we do. I love our team. I love our model. I love our clients. We very much choose clients and fire clients that aren't that are kind people. And if they're not, they don't stick around with us. And we've had to let clients go because they don't fit with our model, right? They want someone who's a team who's just going to be a yes team, for instance. And I have no interest in working with people like that anymore. I like clients who see us as humans, who have my cell phone number, who know my kids' names. And I think that like that to me is something that I hope to continue doing for the foreseeable future. And so I just feel like, especially with women, I don't think that you need to have an end game mapped out from day one or even day 100 or 1 million. I think that you can shift and change what that decision and what that success marker looks like for you every year, every quarter. And that's fine.
Yeah. It's the humaning and curiosity and growing. Like I feel like that's kind of the triad for it.
Agreed.
Well, let people know where they can find you, please, and follow along and all of that. So if you're LinkedIn and
yeah, for sure. Thanks. LinkedIn, just linkedin.com/Lauryn Warnick, LaurynWarnick. And then Villain Branding, villainbranding.com is our site. Well, as I mentioned before we hopped on, we're doing a little bit of a revamp on that over the next couple of months. So stay tuned. I'm sure you're all on the edge of your seats for an agency website revamp, but I'm excited about it. Yeah, please get in touch. I like, I love having conversations like this one-on-one, whether it's recorded or not. It always helps me become a better human. So thank you for the opportunity, Ashley. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. It was great to hear about your Disney experience too, because I'm sure that is in my future. So all business, Disney, parenting, all of that stuff, because it is. We're and-bothing our way through life.
We sure are. Well, I'll send you my itinerary when you get there.
Perfect. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.